The nation's cities are becoming blacker, the suburbs remain white. Despite more than a decade of civil rights activity, despite the 1964 Civil Rights Act, despite the 1968 Fair Housing Act, the suburbs remain a last barrier for most blacks. Who shapes the character of a community? The homeowner or the realtor? Industry and business? Local or federal government? This report examined one suburb in the San Francisco Bay Area, but it could have been just about any suburb in the country. San Leandro is a middle-income bedroom suburb. The 1960 census showed it was 99.99% white. The 1970 census showed the same thing. San Leandro has more than 68,000 residents. Only 84 are black. More than 15,000 homes are owned by whites. 15 are owned by blacks. San Leandro is adjacent to Oakland with a swelling black population. Jack Maltester, mayor of San Leandro.
Racial discrimination in housing exists in every city in the United States. There is no simple answer to why there is a large black population on one side in Oakland, and right across the line, the lack of even 1% black within the city of San Leandro. I know many blacks in Oakland that don't want to move into San Leandro. They wouldn't move here or away from their own neighborhoods, probably if you gave them a place for half price.
We didn't see inside any houses. We couldn't get any real estate brokers to take us in and show us any property in the city, in the community.
This is the experience of one young black couple. They asked that their identity not be made known. They are both professionals with a combined income of more than $15,000. They looked for a home for 4 months. In San Leandro, they were never shown a piece of property. They finally purchased a home in this East Oakland neighborhood for more than $40,000. They'd wanted to spend no more than $30,000.
We would get reasons why we shouldn't buy there. People, they would steer us to different communities, and they wouldn't show us any property at all. Then you would ask for, could you show us something there, and it's just been sold. And we had just seen it on the street, for sale sign, this sort of thing.
What is the role of the real estate industry in shaping a community? We spoke with several realtors of San Leandro and surrounding communities.
This is one of the prime areas of San Leandro where most buyers would like to locate.
Hank Diedrich, the third generation of the oldest real estate firm in town. Walt Egbertson, head of Woodron Realty, the city's largest realtor. Frank Stroffus, president of the Southern Alameda County Board of Realtors, which regulates the activities of local brokers. Rex Hayes, a realtor in neighboring Hayward. He was once a realtor in San Leandro. Ray Collins, an Oakland realtor with an office less than 1.5 miles from the San Leandro border. He has handled more than 15,000 pieces of property. This is Durant Avenue, the borderline between San Leandro and Oakland.
I've been a real estate broker here in East Oakland for the last 20 years, and I haven't been able to break down this imaginary wall. I've sold hundreds of houses on the west side of Durant, but I haven't been able to make a sale. Any of my associates have been able to make a sale to a black in San Leandro. The houses in this area are comparable houses. There's no reason that a person wouldn't be able to buy a similar house on the other side of the street as well as buy one on the west side of the street.
When I first started in real estate in San Leandro, I was called by a party who wished to see a home that was in San Leandro. It was listed by another broker, and I was requested to show the party the home. I made an appointment, and I showed it to him, and it was a black family. Before I got back to my office, my broker knew about it from the listing broker, and I was told that was a rather dumb act, and I was certainly new in the business, that I should wise up.
I've had an opportunity on 1 or 2 occasions to present an offer, but during the presentation, the broker, I learned later that he was giving signs to the owner as to when to get back and when to talk. We were supposed to meet at the property, and neither were supposed to have gone in to see the owner before the other. But I got there a few minutes early, and when I got there, he was coming out of the owner's house, and he had apparently been in and told her to reject my offer. And while I was in there, he would give the sign. He would rub his ear, rub his nose, pull his hair, use his left or his right hand in order to indicate to the owner. And the reason I know this to be a fact is because I cooperated with him on an Oakland property later, and he told me these were the kinds of things he did when he wanted his seller to react.
It really gets frustrating. You just get tired of hearing the same old excuses. You know the people aren't telling you the truth. Oh, that's just sold. Oh, we forgot to take that out of the book. Oh, that went on the market yesterday and it was sold the day before. Oh, that has to be appraised, you know. And that was really our quitting point right there.
From that point on, we just said forget about it. We were, you know, at the point where we didn't care anymore.
Very hard to have much change because the economic picture as far as what the price and value for what you're spending your dollar for in housing in San Leandro is concerned compared to the other areas, this is still a very high-cost area.
Well, they frequently come up with the economic situation, and I don't feel that way at all. It's my opinion that people they are just discouraged not to go.
They were happy to sell us property. It was just a matter of where they wanted to sell it to us. There, we wanted to live by the tracks, where there was defecation in the toilet bowl.
That's right.
And they told us that we'd be more than happy to sell you a house, but it was just depending on where you wanted to live, you know.
Right. Nothing in San Leandro, not even the dumps in San Leandro.
I really don't think there's that much demand from black people to be in San Leandro, because if you analyze what San Leandro has to offer in the way of cultural community activity, I really don't think they have that much. I think we have a library, we have a city hall, but as far as any real activity that people of certain ethnic backgrounds want, I don't think San Leandro has it, and I think that causes lack of demand.
Yeah, they'll say that most blacks want to live in the black communities, and you have some blacks who want to stay right in the black community and develop the black community, which is great. And you have blacks who want to move out, expand.
We want the right to live where we want to.
I can't believe that, number one, if that were true, they would not have filed a complaint with this board of realtors.
We were on a lease. We had to be out by a certain day or either renew our lease, and we didn't want to do that. So I think it was really the time factor.
That and not knowing who to go to, along with we didn't have any proof. It was just our word against their word. And they said, well, you have to have proof or don't waste your time. So we didn't know, really the steps to go through, which I don't think too many people do know.
The first recourse that I would take if I were a black person or a minority would be to go to the Division of Real Estate, which governs the licensing law of the state of California.
Has this body ever revoked a license on a charge of discrimination?
I'm not really sure. Not within my memory.
What advice would you have for a young black couple looking for their first home?
Don't wait till the last minute.
Yeah, so my thing is find a good real estate broker you can trust and who will work for you. If you find something you really want, no matter where it's at, that he's going to fight to get it for you. And he can also tell you about certain laws, that we didn't know anything about, that we're finding out about now, Point to make too that blacks aren't concerned about living next to whites. He just wants something nice, and the nice thing, they have the nice thing, and they're trying to keep it. So it's not the point that we want to live in a white community. We want to live in a nice community.
It's not for them to make the choice where we can live.
The homeowner is the backbone of any community.
12 homeowners associations representing every neighborhood make up the largest organized voting bloc in San Leandro, and their voices heard.
I do believe the homeowners do have some political clout, and I believe on issues that are public, that do affect the city as a whole, that they still have political clout. And they do apply pressure on councilmen, individual councilmen, in regard to votes.
And they are bound and determined that someone who happens to be poor is not going to live here, that someone who happens to be black will not live here, and someone who happens to be different in culture than they are will not live here.
Glennie Nosti is a housewife and mother of 3 young girls. She's chairman of the San Leandro Fair Housing Committee, an organization of very limited influence.
There are 50 people who are willing to be active and have their name and their face seen in doing something with fair housing, or in knowing that they feel that San Leandro is discriminating.
San Leandro, I think, is basically coming around where it's a well-rounded city.
I can tell you this town is a melting pot.
What they're saying is, we're happy with the way the town is, leave us alone.
We have Mexican Americans, we have Spanish Americans, we have Portuguese Americans, we have Indians, we have colored people. There is no such thing as a minority in this town. They're citizens of the town of San Leandro, and if they want to partake of the town, they have the right.
There are very many people in the poorer class who just do not understand the mechanics of running a smoothly run household.
All I'm saying is, if a person wants to live here, if they have a desire to live here, if they have friends that live here, let them buy. Let them live here.
I think that the press and maybe some of our own council have overestimated the strength of the homeowners association.
You still have to take them into account, though, because they are the largest organized
we do,
bloc.
naturally. When you're running for office, you take every vote into account.
A proposal for a San Leandro Human Relations Commission was placed before City Council. Passage was assured. But after a vigorous telephone campaign against the measure, the votes disintegrated. Instead, City Council created the post of Community Relations Representative. Cal Gustafson holds that position.
When a black family does come into this city, it's assimilated. We all know that this doesn't happen in all communities. I think that San Leandro is rather unique there.
You're saying that the 84 blacks who live here in the city of 68,000 have been assimilated
I should say so. I should say so. Very much so.
Would you say that the assimilation might be rather minute?
It's complete insofar as it goes. We can't help that there's 84 families, as few as 84 families.
84 persons.
84 persons, thank you. Something like 23 families, I believe it is, the correct figure. I'm proud to say that there are no incidents occurring that would indicate that they have not been assimilated.
In the 3 years that you have held this office, how many complaints of racial discrimination have you heard?
One.
What do you think accounts for that?
That's getting back to the question, why don't more blacks live in San Leandro? Nobody knows the answer.
Are you satisfied with the pace of integration in San Leandro?
No.
Under the 1968 Civil Rights Act, all federal agencies are to conduct their business in a manner which will ensure open housing. In San Leandro, federal money helped acquire land for this golf course and for this marina. In the last fiscal year, about $3.3 million was spent on FHA mortgage insurance and VA guaranteed home loans. Local mortgage institutions received more than $1.3 million in FHA money. The Defense Department alone spent $16.5 million in contracts. In all, the federal government spent more than $40 million in San Leandro. President Nixon has said that when the federal government dispenses grants, it should consider their impact on patterns of racial concentration. We asked Dr. Wallace Birnbaum, president of Physics International, the largest Defense Department contractor in San Leandro, what kind of an impact this would have on San Leandro.
I think it would represent a major upheaval in the city. The industrial setup here in this town would be turned upside down.
We asked Frank King, executive vice president of the San Leandro Chamber of Commerce, about industry's role in seeking out housing for blue-collar workers.
I think in general, industrial people are hesitant to get into housing programs. In a metropolitan area like this, housing is reasonably close to the plants, and there does not appear to be a problem there.
The local public transportation system is highly inadequate, and the only way to really get out here in a decent time is to try to get some ride in private transportation.
I have no answer for that. It may be they just are not accustomed to commuting to our city.
So either you join a ride pool or you have one hell of a time getting here. It could take you 1 hour and 3/4 to 2 hours for a very short distance. And that is a major hardship, and one that has had a fair impact in our training programs associated with the so-called hardcore unemployed groups, in which you're really introducing people for the first time into the employment system, and they get very discouraged.
As the black people improve themselves economically, then they become more accustomed to the white man's ways and more desirous of becoming part of it and part of the ways.
Becoming part of the white man's ways?
Well, becoming part of the white man's culture.
Do you know any blacks who have said this?
No.
What was it like in San Leandro for you?
It was terrible.
Why?
Because there wasn't nothing to do, there was nobody to play, and all they did was call you names.
What did they call you?
Nigger, blackie, and sometimes they would call me charcoal and stuff like that.
Robin Collins and her parents lived in this $56,000 home in San Leandro. They were, at that time, the only black family in the exclusive Bayo Vista section. Today, they live in this neighborhood in Oakland.
Well, we left to the fact that Robin was having so many problems with the neighbors. She was having so many problems with the children, to and from schooling and in school and out of school.
What did you do after school?
I would either read, or sit down in the house, either ride my bike in the backyard.
Did you ever ride your bike anywhere else?
Nowhere else but in the backyard.
Why not?
Well, it was no use to riding it in the front yard, because they'll start calling me names and bothering me again, so I just stayed in the backyard.
It seems to me the blacks are accustomed to their own social and cultural circles in which they move, and they like it this way. I think they feel out of place when they come into an area that doesn't provide the things that they're accustomed to.
Have you ever heard any black people say this?
No.
Are there any white kids here?
Some. Not too many, though.
Do you think it's right that all the white people live over in San Leandro and all the black people live over here in Oakland?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
Are they qualified to live in San Leandro?
Yes.
Well, why does...
That is, they're qualified if they're willing to accept the kind of life that we have here, which is just an average, ordinary, middle-class American community.